Hello and welcome to the webinar. This is Rich Harshaw from Level 10 Contractor, and we're here today to talk about branding, why branding should be a main focus for 2025. I think you're going to get more than you bargained for on this webinar today, because I'm going to actually talk about branding, and I'm going to talk about a few other things. I'm going to talk about how to stack up a lead generation program that will allow you to feed your company for a long, long time to come. So why branding should be a main focus for 2025 is really going to be the big conclusion to today's webinar. So we'll hit it at the beginning, we'll hit it at the end, and in the middle we'll have some other things that are also important that you need to know. So let me just put this disclaimer before we get started. The question is, are you ready for branding? And the truth is that companies need to be at about $3 to $5 million in annual sales before they're actually probably going to be ready to start branding. Those companies that are in the $3 to $5 million range should probably start now. And I'll show you what to do if you're not in that range, or even if you are in that range, to build a foundation that you can put your branding on top of. Okay, so just think about that for a second. Companies at 3 to 5 million, where do you fit into that category? All right, I do want to share with you our partner sponsors before we get going too far today. These are the companies that make this webinar possible. As you can see on the screen, we've got Structurally Enabled Consulting, Roof Hustlers, and G4 Marketing. We'll be hearing a little bit about each of these as we go through the webinar today. So thank you again for these great partners that we have. They make this webinar possible. Well, with that said, let's go ahead and give you an idea who two of these partners are. I'll share two others with you as we go a little bit further through the presentation. And to do this, I'm going to share with you a poll so you can tell me which of these you're interested in learning more about. Let me find the right one. I'm going to launch it. It'll go on your screen, and go ahead and fill that out as we get started. Let me tell you first about G4 Marketing. This is a really cool company. They help you stay in touch with your existing clients and get more business out of them. You can turn your happy customers into raving fans, boost your brand recognition, there you go, right? And increase profits. They specialize in residential home improvement, helping contractors grow their business using expertise using home improvement marketing. Mostly they're going to be using direct mail, but also email marketing, social media, reputation management. G4 is going to reach out to your people. They've got a gifting program. They've got a stay in touch newsletter program. They've got mailers. This is all going to allow you to get more business from your existing customers. Now, let me tell you about a company I know that worked with these guys. It's a company called Next Door and Window. They're out of Chicago. Justin Bartley, I've known them for a long, long time. They are customers of G4 Marketing, and this is the only company that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's others, but this is the only one I'm aware of that literally has figured out how to scale repeat and referral business. They've got 50% roughly of their business comes from repeat and referral, and they're over $20 million in sales. And at the heart of their repeat and referral engine is this G4 Marketing. So reach out to these guys. You can find them at g4marketing.com, g4marketing.com, and they will get you rolling. Also want to tell you about Structurally. This is a really cool, I was going to say it's an AI company, but it's more than just AI, okay? AI is very topical these days. But they're a company that's going to help you connect your leads using AI. You don't have to use your staff to constantly call and text and email, because AI is going to do it for you. They're going to average a 57% contact rate and 17% qualified live transfer rate. What they're going to be doing is reaching out to your prospects. Leads come in, they're going to be reaching out to them via phone, email, text, and setting those appointments. Okay, it works with every aspect of the home improvement industry: window siding, gutters, doors, bathrooms, kitchens, landscape, solar, you name it, they're going to be helpful for you. And I want to give you this phone number. Jot this down if you got a chance. The phone number, you call this number and it will give you a live demo of using their AI. It's really, really cool. So I was going to say it's a little creepy. It's not really creepy, but it's kind of cutting edge. Okay, here's the phone number. Write it down. 515 area code 515-516-3061. One more time, 515-516-3061, or you can go to structurally.ai, learn more about these folks. They're doing great things. We love these guys, and I highly recommend it. Okay, I'm going to end the poll, close that sucker up. All right, thank you for participating in that poll. And let's get to the topic of the day, branding. What you see on your screen right now is a can of Coca-Cola. And then guess what comes next? Yep, Pepsi Cola. And then I've got two more for you. This is called store brand cola, and this is a test cola, something that hasn't hit the market yet. And this is based on a study that was done in Germany. I think it was about 10, 11 years ago now. And the study went like this. People went in to take the test and they put these electrodes on their head so they could monitor their brain activity as they drank these various colas, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, store brand, and then this test cola. And they wanted to see when people drank these various brands or types of colas, what was going on in the brain. And here's what they found out. I'm going to say it and you're going to go, wow, that makes sense. But then there's a twist, okay? It's like the Sixth Sense. The kid was, dead the whole time or whatever. But here's what happened. When people drank Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they noticed that the reward center in their brain would light up like a Christmas tree. It was like, hey, I'm drinking Coke, I'm drinking Pepsi, this is awesome, I love this stuff, and it was treated like a reward. I mean, go figure, it's sugary soda, it tastes good, and boom, there you go, a reward. But then they found out when they were drinking the other two, the store brand, not as well known, kind of, if you bring that to the party, you're that guy. And then the Coca-Cola, the cola that was explained as, hey, we want to test market this. We want to see what you think about it. When people drank both of those, the reward center in their brain didn't light up. What did light up was what's called the values judgment part of their brain, values judgment. In other words, hey, I'm drinking this. I don't know if it's good or not. I need to decide. So let me think about and try to process whether or not I like this. Okay, so here's the twist. The twist is that actually they were lying to the subjects. They were all drinking a combination of 4 different colas poured into one cup. So they had Coke, Pepsi, store brand, and test brand all poured into a cup. And then they had 4 different cups that were all literally the same concoction of these 4 mixed up. And when they thought it was Coke, they thought it was Pepsi, and they thought it was the other two, they got the reward center, and then they got, what would you call it? The values judgment. So at the end of the day, here's what we learn about this, and it's very instructive to what we're talking about here today. It's like, hey, guess what? If you have a brand that is strong and understood and known to people out there in the marketplace, here's what's going to happen. They're going to see it as a treat to do business with you. Whereas if they don't really know you and they're just finding you, from Google or from an ad or something, then not saying that they can't and won't do business with you, not saying that that's a terrible thing, but it's saying that it's a lot easier to do business with friends than with strangers. So what we want to do, look, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, these guys have had literally 100+ years of hundreds of millions of billions of dollars in the marketplace spent on advertising. You don't have to go to that extent, but you can do it on a much smaller local level. And we'll talk about that as we go through this, okay? Now, we call this farming when we talk about branding. So branding and farming are going to be synonymous. And you might want to lean into branding because it can bring you a steady stream of qualified leads, lower overall marketing costs over time. This isn't one of those things where what do you call it? A rising tide lifts all ships. And what I'm talking about specifically here, when I'm talking about branding, is radio, television, streaming, billboards, also using branding on social media. I'll talk about that as we go through this. You can charge higher prices because you're a more well-known entity. Think about Coke versus store brand. It costs more money. It's easier to weather downturns. I think right now we're kind of in a boom period, but next year we could easily be in a bust. It's going to be a little bit easier to downturn. Also going to make your business more attractive to potential buyers. Why? Because the marketplace at large knows who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what they can expect when they do business with you. And as a result, that is a brand that is actually worth money versus a company. Think about this. What if a company was doing $20 million in sales, which I've seen this, and the majority of that business is coming from online lead aggregating companies and events where they go show up at the Strawberry Festival and the Home Show and all these different kinds of things where there's a bunch of people. Again, not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if your marketing is based on buying leads, then the marketplace really never gets to see who you are because you're not running your own ads with your own sales points, shall we call them at the moment, and you're losing the opportunity not just to generate leads, because you can get those if you're buying from the modernizers of the world, but you're losing the opportunity to have people understand, again, who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what they can expect when they do business with you. Okay, so the result is of branding, farming, okay, synonymous, is that people are going to seek you out when they're ready to buy. They're going to know who to go to. So this is what we're trying to get to by the end of the webinar today. Now, let me tell you who I am. That's me, Rich Harshaw, handsome fella, if I ever saw one. I'm the founder of Level 10 Contractor, also an author of a book called Unlocking Unlimited Lead Flow, CEO of the company right now. Started it literally 30 years ago, November of 1994 as a general marketing consultant, and then got involved heavily with remodeling and home services in about 2005. Now, I did have some clients, had a $50 million roofing company as a client back in the 90s, but really got headlong into this particular industry. So everything that we do and all of the things that my company is about are based on lots and lots of experience with hundreds of clients over the last, let's call it 20 years or so. Worked with some of the biggest and most successful companies in the industry. Horizon Services and Service Champions are two of the home services companies that we worked with. We took Horizon from 44 million to 150 million. Then they sold the company. Service Champions, started working with them about 10 years ago. They've grown to, well, it's a portfolio company now with cumulative $500 million in sales, something like that. Doing what we're talking about today. Also worked with companies like 1-800-HANSON's, Renewal by Anderson, and also many smaller companies. This just gives you an idea that we've worked with some of the biggest, and the stuff we're talking about works. Now, our company is an elite marketing agency. We specialize in working with companies that are in about the $5 to $20 million range. That's the sweet spot of where we like to do business. A little bit below that, no problem. Above that, also no problem, but that's the sweet spot. We're an elite level marketing agency. We build websites. We do SEO services that actually work. Digital advertising services, that's going to be your Facebook, your Google, TV and radio, streaming advertising. So just give you an idea of who's talking to you today. So you've got an understanding of what my background and what the credibility of my company, Level 10 Contractor, is. Also have a podcast. There's 1,900 episodes. You can listen to them. Just go look it up, Level 10 Contractor Daily Podcast. If you're not listening to this podcast, you should be listening to this podcast. Let me just put it this way. Go look it up on Apple, Spotify, whatever you like. Doesn't matter. It's there. All right. I'm going to offer this to you a little bit later when you've got more context, but I do want you to know that we do an audit on websites. You can go to Level 10 Audit, or you can do the camera thing with that QR code. It'll ask you to fill out a time when you can meet with us to talk about your website. But I am going to talk about websites a little bit here as we go through this. So you might have a little bit more context to want to request this as we go through this, but I'm just letting you know, if you want to get a head start on that, we have a relatively limited amount of capacity to do that. We're really busy lately because I've been out on the road speaking for the last 3 weeks or something, and we're really, really busy. Anyway, let's go to the next part here. Let's talk about lead growth planning for remodelers, okay? So there's 3 steps. The first step is you want to build your foundation, okay? And I want you to know, if you've been on some of my webinars before, you've heard me talk about things before, I'm going to bring all of the major things that we talk about. I'm going to connect all the dots and put them in one presentation today. So the first thing you want to do is build your foundation, and that's going to be creating and implementing an identity. And I'll talk about that. I've talked about that a million times. If you listen to my podcast, it comes up all the time. It's the core foundation of everything that we do at Level 10 Contractor. I'll get into that in just a minute. It's part of step 1. Also part of step 1 is generating 200 to 500 quotable leads a month from Google alone, okay? That's a huge claim that I'm making right there. I'll back it up in a few minutes, okay? Implementing a lead conversion engine, making sure that when you get the leads, you can convert them into appointments, and then you can convert those appointments into sales and dollars. So this is step 1, is building this foundation. Once that's in place, then go hog wild adding additional kinds of leads into your system. Again, you've got this lead conversion engine. I'll talk about that briefly in just a minute, but you're going to add other leads in the system. These can come from wherever you want. They can come from lead aggregators, paid social, shows and events, canvassing, whatever it is that you do. It could be, what do you call it? Like shared mailers, the Valpak, whatever. After you've got your foundation, then add leads into the system. And then step 3 is where we're heading with our conversation today, which is branding, educating the market via radio, TV, streaming, billboards, social, and so forth. Now, the idea, if you look at this and think about it for just a minute, is that we don't necessarily want to jump straight into branding. Remember, a few minutes ago, I said, if you're 3 to 5 million in sales, it's time to start thinking about branding. If you're less than 3 to 5 million in sales, guess what it's time to start thinking about? Well, step 1 and step 2. Now, what if you're 7 million or 10 million and you don't really engage in any branding? Well, let's make sure your foundation is solid. Look, you're doing 5, 6, 7, $8 million. I'm sure you got a good solid foundation, but let's shore it up and make sure that it's really solid. You've probably already got a lot of leads coming into your system. Then we can talk about the branding. So this is going to be relevant for everybody except the smallest of the small fries who just aren't quite ready. But I've got a lot for everybody today, so stick with me as we go through this. So let's talk about this, the first step here for the foundation. This is before branding: identity, Google, and lead conversion engine. Now I'm going to go through this stuff pretty quick because it's not technically what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about step 3, which is the branding, but I do want you to understand what the foundation looks like. So the first part is identity. From a messaging standpoint, here's what I found is that most marketing is full of platitudes and prices. So a platitude is going to be words or phrases that are really commonplace, predictable, that lack power to evoke interest through overuse and repetition, but they're still stated as though they were original or significant. So it's going to be these kinds of things: best products, best service, family-owned business. We've been in business since 1431 BC. Those are the kinds of things that we're typically seeing companies say in their marketing, and they just don't move the needle very much because they're boring and they're expected and nobody really cares. Then the second thing that people are putting in their marketing is prices and offers. Buy one, get one free, 40% off the second window, 0% financing. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this, prices and offers. I am saying that if this is all you're doing all the time in your advertising and your marketing dollars, then you're training the marketplace to what? You're telling them that they should buy from you because you're cheaper. And the truth is, you're probably not cheaper. So this is not really the right message, again, for all the time. So what we want to do is get to something called identity, and then we'll mix some offers in there. So here's what ends up happening with these platitudes. You sound like Charlie Brown's mother. Wah, 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 wah. I've got a sound effect. Let's see if it works. Yeah, I just added that sound effect. That's kind of funny. All right, let's go to identity here. Okay, identity, definition of identity. So this is going to be the opposite of the platitude. Words, and look, if you're sitting at your desk or something like that, if you're watching this on your phone, take a screenshot of this. This is really important stuff right here. Definition of identity: it's words, phrases, and images that are articulated with power, precision, and passion that instantly, definitively communicate who you are, how you're different and better, what customers can expect when they do business with you. Okay, this is what identity is. It's not just saying, hey, we're better, we're faster. It's actually articulating with power, precision, and passion and telling the story so that people understand why they should do business with you instead of somebody else. So you've got to find your story, and then you got to tell your story. There's things that you do very, very well. What are they? There's reasons that your customers love you. What are they? The key is you've got to identify those things and then articulate them so that they come alive. You have to help the prospect visualize your advantages. Here's the key: you have to find and then tell your story. Now, I'll give you examples of this as we go through the webinar today. I'll play for you some radio commercials. I'll also play for you some TV spots so you can get an idea of what this looks like. But this is the idea of identity: finding and telling your story. Now, I'm going to put this on the screen. Another good one for you to take a note of, maybe take a photograph. What I call the 5 pillars of identity. The 5 pillars of identity are your products, your workmanship, your bedside manner, which is how you treat people, your core values, and then your culture and your reputation. Okay, and you can see below each of those on the 5 pillars, there's what do we got here? About 10 or 11 or 12 individual, what we call identity points that you can then build your business around from a marketing standpoint. If you look at the bottom, it says identify 3 of these identity points from each of the pillars, and then find stories, examples, and comparisons. So look at your products, look at workmanship. And what I want you to do is look at that and decide, what is it that we do that is different, that's better? So we look at workmanship. Let's say you're a roofing company, and there's under workmanship, it says no cutting corners, and it says attention to detail, done right the first time. Okay, well, let's talk about how we might tell that story. We might take that information that we don't cut corners and attention to detail, which at this point, if we just go out to the marketplace and we say, hey, just so you know, we don't cut corners and we have a high attention to detail, they're going to kind of shrug their shoulders and go, well, it's a platitude, who cares, whatever. They're not going to pay that much attention. But what if we went out to the marketplace and I'll simulate a radio ad? What if the radio ad said something like this? It said, hey, when it comes to roofing, it's the little things that matter. Did you know that according to the manufacturer standards, you're supposed to put 6 nails into every shingle, and that a lot of companies only put 4 or 5 nails into every shingle? Did you know that that voids your warranty? And if you have a problem later, you're going to have a big problem. Do you know why these other roofing companies might only put 4 or 5 nails? Well, it's quite simple. It saves them a little bit of money. It saves them about $30, $40 on nails, saves them about $50 to $100 on labor to nail those nails into the shingles. So they're going to save about $100, $130. Meanwhile, you've got a voided warranty. Listen, it's the little things that matter at XYZ Roofing. We only always ever put 6 nails per shingle, just like the manufacturer recommends. If that's the kind of company you want, call us. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'm telling this story that's immediately easy for people to mentally validate, because nobody knows anything about roofing. But if you tell them that you need 6 nails, everybody knows what a nail is, everybody knows what 6 is, everybody knows what a shingle is, and everybody can assume that 6 is probably better than 4 or 5 if that's what you're telling them and you're giving them that story. So you see how this works? This is identity. Now we could do this for all of these different identity points that are on the screen right now, but what I want you to do is just choose 3 from each pillar and then try to find the story, the example, the comparisons that helps those come alive. Okay, now that's 15 out of 5 different pillars, which is too many. So what you're going to want to do is, out of those 15, you're going to want to identify 2 or 3 or 4 that really move the needle, that are really the DNA of your company, and lean into those for the most part. Okay, now I'm going to show you some examples of this when we get to the radio and TV part. But here's what I want you to know. You take your identity, it becomes the hub of all of your marketing activities, whether it be your website, print ads, mailers, look, anything, TV, radio, home shows, phone scripts, SEO. You need to have identity at the hub. So let's say that somebody calls in and they say, hey, I'd like to set an appointment for you to come give me a quote on Windows. And you say, because you have an identity point that is, let's say, no high pressure sales, okay? I'm just making one up off the top of my head here. So when you've got a phone script, somebody calls in and they say, hey, I want to set an appointment for you to come over and look at my windows. Say, hey, just want you to know, did you see on our website that it says that we have a no tricks, no pressure sales agreement? And they go, no, I don't think I saw that. Well, here, let me just take 20, 30 seconds here. I want you to know that when we come over to your house, we are not going to engage in any of the typical high pressure sales tactics that you see from a lot of home improvement companies. They send their guys out to these week-long sales training boot camps to learn what they call persuasion tactics. We don't do that. We're going to come over to your house. Our job is to help you understand what's available, to show you our different lines of products, answer your questions, and then step back and let you decide. There's going to be no arm twisting. There's going to be no games played. I just want you to know that, so that when John from our company comes over tomorrow night, I just want you to feel comfortable that they're there for you. And if you decide to do business with us, awesome. And if you decide not to do business with us for whatever reason, that's okay too. It's a no pressure environment. And they go, wow, that's really cool. And then, by the way, I could put that same little story into a blog post. I could put it on my website, and then I could also send them a text message that says, hey, before we come tomorrow night, read this interesting information about our no tricks, no pressure sales agreement. And then we're putting this information in front of people's faces, okay? So I'm going to give you a couple examples. I've got 6 on the screen. I'm only going to play 2 or 3 of them right now. I'll get to a couple of them later. The first one is going to be workmanship from Jericho. Let me play this for you. So here's the idea. They want people to know that one of the reasons that people do business with them is that they have high quality materials when they remodel your bathroom or kitchen. Now, what you could do is you could go on the radio and say, hey, if you come to Jericho, we use the highest quality products and materials. And people's eyes just kind of glaze over and say, yeah, so what? So let me show you a different way to say that. I'm going to play this. Hopefully you can hear it well. Here we go.
One of the most common questions we get about kitchen and bathroom remodeling is, how much does it cost? But the question you should be asking is, how much does it weigh? How much does it weigh? You can tell a lot about the quality of the kitchen or bathroom by how much the faucet weighs. At Jericho, we only use high quality Moen faucets. They weigh about 10 pounds each. They're solid metal, they look fantastic, and they'll last forever. Other remodelers save money by using off-brand plastic faucets that only weigh about 1.5 pounds. 10 pounds versus 1.5 pounds. If you want a remodeling job that weighs right, call Jericho. Find us online at Jericho.
Okay, do you get an idea of how that works? I hope you could hear that okay. If somebody could give me some feedback on the chat that says, yep, I could hear that, or nope, I couldn't hear that very well, I would appreciate it. Kind of using a new system today, and I hope that works. Let's see. Anybody? Comments? Heard it? Didn't hear it? Okay, Cole, thank you. He could hear it. Fantastic. Let's play one more. This one's called deposit hopping. This is Hutcherson Construction. So let's take a listen to this one to give you an idea of how this works. Whoops, I don't know how to click. Come on, Rich. There it is.
Thinking about a new deck? Then you need to know about deposit hopping. Nick here from Hutcherson Construction, and here's how it works. Most contractors require a 50% deposit when you sign the contract, up front, on the spot, which they use to pay for labor and materials for other jobs that they're already working on. When it comes time to build your deck later, they'll try and collect another deposit from somebody else to pay for the labor and materials on your job. It's called deposit hopping, and it puts you at risk because they're flying by the seat of their financial pants. At Hutcherson, we never ask for a deposit. You never pay anything until the first day of the job, after the materials have been delivered.
Okay, well, I cut that off a little bit short, but you get the idea. Okay, so this is stuff that people don't necessarily know. And here's why they don't know, because people don't ever buy decks. They don't ever buy kitchens. It's a very rarely purchased project. So the things that they need to know, the things that they need to watch out for, people just don't know. So here's what we have to do. Help them understand. This is what we call identity. Now I'm going to circle back to this a little bit later. So I'm not going to play all of these right now, but I will get to some of these a little bit later. Also some TV commercials when I get to this third section of this webinar, when I'm talking specifically about branding. Okay, but you've got a taste for it right now. So just imagine taking this radio commercial and putting it out there on the radio station. People hear it. They hear, quality materials. They hear this thing about deposit hopping. And after a while, they start to realize and understand, oh, this company actually treats me well. Okay, so we'll get to that in just a minute. First, let's go to the part of the plan. We're still under foundation. Google. And here's what we want to do with Google. We want to get 200 quotable leads a month just from Google. Why? Because everybody is looking for somebody on Google. That's the main place where people are searching. It's like the yellow pages back in the old days, except for it's the new days, and it's called Google. You want to get 50 quotable leads a month from organic search, and then 50 quotable leads from Google Business Profile, which is part of your SEO. And I'll show you this in just a second. 50 quotable leads from pay-per-click, paid ads, Google, right? And then also you want to get 50 quotable leads from LSA. That's also known as Google Guarantee. That's 200 quotable leads a month. And these are non-competitive quotable leads. These are people that are coming directly to your website, directly to your landing page. They're not going through a third-party lead aggregator who's then sending them to you blindly. The customer doesn't even know who you are. Excuse me. This is what we want to do. Why? Again, because Google is where people are looking. You realize that when you win at Google search, Google Business Profile, pay-per-click, LSA, you realize that when you win, you're just beating out those aggregator guys. And yeah, you can beat those guys out because Google loves the fact that you are a local company if you can sufficiently show Google that, hey, you're a local company. Okay, now to understand how to do this, the first thing you need to know is that SEO is like war. You have to determine where you want to dominate and what you want to dominate. Okay, so you're going to put pages on your website into battle. Okay, so think about this like a war. War, you don't just go fight the whole war. You just put the troops that you want to put into a battle into that battle. If you've got an opponent that's fighting a battle and they've got 100 troops in the battle and you put 3 troops in the battle, here's what happens. You get slaughtered. Okay, so what we want to do in terms of SEO is we want to figure out where it is that you want to dominate, what it is you want to dominate for, keywords like roofing, siding, windows, etc. And then you want to create troops, pages, and put them into those battles, okay? Now, this is what we call geo keyword pairs. It's really, that's 3 relays, important geo keyword pairs. These are the troops that you're going to put into the battle. And these troops or pages, it's a metaphor, go with me here. They have to be executed at an elite level or they're not going to work. Okay, so what kinds of pages are there? 3 kinds. Core pages. This is the main navigation of your website. Okay, if you go to the main navigation, it's got a little drop down. This is going to be those pages, core pages. Then you've got service area pages and also blog pages, just to put these all on the screen. Now you need to look at these service area pages and blog pages like special forces troops that are going to go in and really do the heavy lifting, inflict the most damage, however you want to say the analogy. These are the ones that are going to be driving traffic to your site and allowing you to get these organic leads and also these Google Business Profile leads, okay? Service area pages, these are pages that are optimized for specific geo keyword pairs, okay? So if you're in Chula Vista, California, and you sell bathtub refinishing or tub to shower conversions or bathroom remodeling, the geo keyword pair would be Chula Vista, California, bathroom remodeling. Boom, geo keyword pair. So you've got to create a specific page, because here's the thing, Google does not rank websites, it ranks web pages. So you've got to have these pages and put them in place, okay? I'm going through this quickly because I want you to understand that this is a foundation that you need to build in your business, okay? So this is San Diego, and you can see this little graphic here. We're going to put troops in Oceanside, and San Marcos, and Escondido, and Rancho Santa Fe, and Escondidas, Solana Beach, Lakeside, El Cajon, La Mesa. Sure enough, Chula Vista down here at the bottom, San Diego, a little bit bigger troops. This is the idea. If you put these troops into these battles, then you're going to win, and you will have this foundation of Google leads that is very, very powerful. You can build this foundation up to where you're getting a consistent 100, 200 leads a month that'll give you a consistent $2, $3, $4, $5, $600,000 a month, even $1 million a month of revenue, just only strictly from Google, okay? So this is going to give you an idea of what it looks like on your screen. Tub to shower conversion, Chula Vista, California. Look at what the first thing that comes up is. Sugarman's Bath. By the way, that's our client. We built their website. We do their SEO. We do it exactly like I'm talking about. And here's what happens. They show up first in the rankings. Then you'll see Bath Planet down here as second, and then you'll see third, also Sugarman's Bath. These are service area pages. You can see that clearly on the screen. There's a service area Chula Vista, tub to shower, and then below that there's a what is that? Bathtub or shower remodeling. Okay, it's 2 different pages. We put multiple troops into that battle, and 2 of those troops showed up in the top 3 of organic. That's what we're trying to accomplish to build this foundation. You can also see here on the right side of the screen, they show up in the map section. There they are. Boom, number 2. Gonna get clicks off of that. Sure enough. Here's what I want you to know about this. If you look at this Google Business Profile, I've actually clicked on it here, and you can see, if you look here, you see this where it says updates? Where it says updates, that's where you can actually add things into the Google Business Profile that are web pages on your website. Well, what kinds of web pages, Rich? Well, I don't know. How about blog pages and service area pages that are geo keyword optimized, so that if your office, look at this, the office address is in San Diego, but you can still show up for Google Business Profile in, let's go back here, for Chula Vista, if you've got geo keyword optimized content put into your updates on your Google Business Profile, okay? See how that works? So we talked about getting 50 quotable leads from SEO and another 50 perhaps from Google Business Profile, and then pay-per-click, okay? Pay-per-click, PPC, paid search, AdWords, it's all the same thing. It's just different words for the same thing. Usually you're going to need a budget of about $5,000 to start. Now maybe you say, well, I don't have $5,000 to start. If that's the case, you've got a big problem, which is go get a loan, because you need to run a real business. And if you don't have the money to run your pay-per-click advertising, newsflash, you don't have a real business. So that's a problem. Most product categories in top 100 cities, in other words, the larger cities in the country, can handle $8,000 to $20,000 a monthly spend per category. That's windows, and then another $20,000 for siding, another $20,000 for roofing. There's a lot of people searching if you know how to handle it, okay? Lead cost is going to be $100 to $300, and the success is going to depend on the ad creation and the landing page, making sure that it's telling what? Your story as it relates to what? Your identity, okay? So that's number 3 in Google. And then finally, local service area. Google guaranteed, LSA, it's the same thing. It's two different words for the same thing. There's a process you have to go through to get verified. It's a pain in the butt, but it is something that you need to do because you can get these leads from Google. They're going to be at the top of the page, which is awesome. And they're going to cost you about 100 to 300 bucks in most cases. Now, one problem with LSAs, you can't always get as many leads as you want, but take what they have available. It's a definite good way to get leads. So we've got what? We've got Google Organic, we've got Google Business Profile, we've got pay-per-click, and we've got LSA. You should be doing all of these to generate 100 to 200 to 300 to 400 quotable leads a month. Okay, so you can see here doing the search. Here they are, Google guaranteed, Sugarman's Bath, Google guaranteed. If you scroll down a little bit in the map section, scroll down a little bit more, here they are in organic. This is called Grand Slam home run. If you show up everywhere in Google search, that's the idea. Okay, so that's the foundation that I'm talking about when I talk about creating the foundation of your business before you start getting into branding. Okay, so if this is something you'd like for us to take a look at and help you with, go ahead and sign up for this free website audit. You just use your QR code reader on your phone and you can fill that out. It's pretty self-explanatory. Ask you a few questions, ask you to set a time, and then we'll show you how you can do this for your business. Okay, so we're going to move on now to lead conversion engine. Lead conversion engine. Okay, talking about converting leads to sits and sits to sales. Yeah, I want you to look at this on the screen, and here's what I want you to know. We're not going to cover this today. We don't have time. It's not what we're here to talk about today. We will cover this in detail in a future webinar, but by way of going backwards, lead confirmation, speed to lead, pre-positioning using text like structurally, like we talked about earlier, sales training, making sure that you're doing that properly, financing, incentives, brand ambassador program. Again, this is stuff we're not going to talk about today. I just want you to be aware that this is part of the foundation that you need to build. Okay. Now let's pause for just a moment and let's go through two more of our partner sponsors today. And then we'll get into the second half of this webinar where we're going to talk about the specific branding stuff. So let me launch the second poll. The second poll is right here. You can ask to be put in touch with any of these companies. Let me tell you about Enabled. This is a pretty cool thing that they've got going over here. It's a company that enables remodeling contractors to build $1 million event, home show, and retail lead generating department. So events, okay? They're going to help you do this through personalized one-on-one coaching and essentially help you get really, really good at putting on events. Okay, if you're good at events already, awesome. If you're not that great at events, this is a company that can help you do it. They're going to do face-to-face lead generation. They're going to help you do recruiting, training, retaining top-tier managers and team members, developing custom scripts, and you can do this with fairs, festivals, retail locations. All of this is included in what Enabled does. So take a look at them. You can look at them at, let's see, enabledremodeler.com, enabledremodeler.com, or just go ahead and click it on there on the poll, and they will be in touch because we're going to send this right over to them, and they'll follow right up, hopefully. Lastly, Roof Hustlers. Okay, I did a podcast with this guy. It was November 1st, number 1881. You got to go listen to this podcast. This guy, Deshaun, he's number one, very intelligent. Number two, the guy's hilarious. He's got this company called Roof Hustlers, and they're a canvassing training company. Okay, so if you want to get more business by canvassing, these guys are going to help you really go out there and figure that out. They've got all kinds of different programs to do that. They've got something called Best Hustler Academy. It comes with pre-recorded training videos, and they also have live coaching calls and sales leadership. They also have on-site training. It's 3.5 days of intense training, one-on-ones with your sales reps, and daily office trainings. And this is amazing. You got to go listen to the podcast, number 1881 on my podcast. It's fantastic, November 1st. And then go check them out. You get 20% off if you go to, let's see, roofhustlers.com. Yeah, that's it, roofhustlers.com. All right, thanks for that. Appreciate you paying attention to these folks. Like I said, there would be no webinar without these partner sponsors. So thank you very much for participating in that. All right, let's go to step 2, which is more lead gen. So step 1, remember, was your identity, and then it was your Google, and then it was your lead conversion engine, which I punted and said, hey, we'll talk about that on a different webinar, probably in December. Step 2, more lead generation, still before branding though. And this is talking about lead aggregators, Facebook paid advertising, shows and events, canvassing, shared mailers, other things that you can do to generate leads. This also is something that we are going to cover in a future webinar. It's not our point today. We do want to get to step 3, and I've saved the rest of the time for in the webinar for step 3, which is the branding. But I do want you to know that once you've built that foundation, you can start putting leads that are not necessarily branded leads into your funnel because they're available. And if you can get those leads and you're good at converting those leads, then by all means, you should be doing that. All right, so let's go to step 2. It should say step 3. Doggone it. Step 3, branding. Finally, TV, streaming, radio, billboards, social. And you might notice that social media, I talked about Facebook advertising briefly in the previous section, section 2. This is section 3, even though it says 2 on the screen. Facebook can be done either way. It can be a direct response lead generator. It can also be a branding. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So here's what I want to do. I want to walk you through different budgets for different sizes of companies and show you kind of what this looks like in real life from a budget. Now, these are guidelines, okay? This is not hard, fast rules, and you have to spend precisely this amount and precisely these ratios. But to give you an idea, if you're a $1 million company and you've got about a 12% spend, which is going to be about $10,000 a month in marketing budget, then here's what that's going to look like. Over on the left, the gray, that's your total marketing budget, $10,000 a month. You should be spending 8,000 of it on pay-per-click and LSA, okay? And none of it on SEO and very little of it on other. Now, other can be broken into lead generation categories like we talked about, or branding. I'm probably gonna encourage you to hold off on branding at this level of business if this is you. But look what you should be spending your money on, pay-per-click and LSA, okay? If that's something that you haven't mastered yet, you need to master it. Reach out to level 10 contractor, fill out the audit thing that I showed you earlier, and get on this now. Now let's go a little bit bigger. Let's say you're a $3 million company. So now you've got a $30,000 a month marketing budget. Again, 12%, that's going to come out to about $30,000 a month. Now look, this has grown and it's half your budget. $15,000 a month on pay-per-click and LSA. Now your SEO at this level needs to jump to $5,000 a month. You need to start putting those troops into the battle like I talked about a minute ago. But look what you've got, $10,000 left over. You can use that either on lead gen, or you can use that on branding, or a combination of both. Again, 3 million in sales is kind of where you need to start really thinking about branding. Let me take it up a notch now. This is $5 million. Okay, look what we've got now, a $50,000 a month budget. Now we've increased this pay-per-click and LSA a little bit to $20,000. We've increased our SEO a little bit to $7,000. Why? Because we're going to put more troops into the battle. Why? Because we have more budget available to do it. But now we've got over, well, right about half of our budget, a little less than half of our budget, $23,000 that can go into that third category of either additional lead gen or into branding. And then as you start getting up into $10 million in sales, you have a $100,000 a month budget, a little bit higher on pay-per-click and LSA. You need to put your SEO up to about $10,000 a month at this level, because again, you can now afford to put more troops into more battles. So do that. But now you've got all this money left over to do lead gen and branding. And at this point, when you're 10 million in sales, you really need to be leaning into the branding. So what does that look like? Here's the plan. First of all, get your identity-based message on TV and radio. How much budget should you spend? Well, this is a very blunt way to say this. You should spend as much money as you can afford, given that you may not get an immediate return. This is what you need to understand about farming. Think about farming. You don't go plant the seeds in the soil and then 5 seconds later eat something that you pulled out of the ground. That's what hunting is. Hey, we need food. Go to the river and go fishing. Great. Fishing. That is a hunting activity. Or you take your rifle out into the woods and you try to shoot a deer or a squirrel or a whatever it is that you want to hunt for. Farming takes time. It takes effort. It takes a little bit of patience. And if you do it properly, it's going to pay off for the long term. But from a budgeting standpoint, you got to understand the dollars are not necessarily coming back right away. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. Sometimes it takes a minute, and you've got to be ready for that, okay? I'm going to encourage you to start with one station. Should it be radio or TV? Well, radio is typically a little easier because you don't have to deal with TV production. TV production takes time, it takes effort, it takes money. And compared to radio, you can usually cut the ads in about a day for $100 to $200. It's just really inexpensive. It's not a big deal. So start with one station. Maybe TV is the better bet if it's cheaper and it's going to offset some of those upfront costs with the production. But typically you're going to start with just one station, maybe two, depending on how much budget you have. Make sure that the station is a good demographic fit. If it's radio, you're going to look at your news talks. You're going to look at your oldies. You're going to look at stations that tend to be listened to by homeowners who are a little bit older that have more money. So i.e. not top 40, right? Then you're going to buy the station that has the lowest CPMs. What's a CPM? Cost per thousand. CPM, cost per thousand. This is a measurement that's standardized in all advertising of how much does it cost to reach 1,000 impressions? How much does it cost to reach 1,000 audience members, either on TV or on radio? It could also be on a billboard. They measure CPMs. How many people are passing that billboard in their car? If it's streaming television, then they can measure this hyper specifically. You buy a specific number of impressions with your budget, okay? But you're going to start with some of the lower CPMs first and then go from there. That just makes sense. It's kind of the old pick the biggest, fattest apple on the lowest branch of the tree first. Why not, okay? Then you want to make sure that you get a full buy on that station before expanding to other stations. What does that mean? For radio, that means that you want to buy a sufficient number of spots per week, that the average, what they call frequency, will be 2 or 2.5, meaning that the average person who's listening to that station will hear that ad 2.5 times per week. Okay, that's called a 2.5, 2.5 frequency. Okay, if you buy more spots during that week, you might have your frequency go up to 3 or 3.5 or 4 or 4.5 or 5. And you're just going to have to trust me on this. I'm an expert. You probably are not an expert. So just trust me on this. You're going to have to trust me on this. You don't need a 5 frequency. It's too much. Okay. It's just too much of a frequency. You want about a 2.5. Over time, that's going to be sufficient for everybody to find out who you are, hear who you are, and most importantly, understand your identity, who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what people can expect when they do business with you, okay? Now, once you have a full buy, you got about a 2.5 on the radio, then you can start thinking about a second station. If you're on TV, same thing. You want to look for a certain frequency before you start going to other stations, okay? The idea is to put your message in front of as many qualified people with a strong identity-based message, okay? This is what we're trying to do when it comes to branding. Why? So that when people are ready to buy whatever it is you sell, they already know who you are, and also they know how you're different and better and what they can expect when they do business with you as opposed to your competitors. So I said earlier that the first step is to create your identity, check, that's super important. The second part of the foundation was to master Google. Now, understand why Google exists as it relates to the home improvement industry. It exists because people don't know who to call. So if we can, through branding, get people to call us without having to go to Google, boom, we've preempted everybody. That's what we're trying to do. Okay, so Rich, are you telling me that if I'm effective at branding, then I don't need to do the foundational Google stuff? Well, first of all, you got to do the foundational Google stuff first so that you have a viable business and a budget so that you can actually do the branding. Then, once you have the budget and you're spending it on the branding, you need to continue to do the Google. Here's why. Because not everybody's going to participate in hearing your branding, okay? The people that are on that station, listening to that station, they're going to know who you are. They're going to come to you. But you've got to understand that no matter how much branding you do, there's still going to be people that need to look from Google to get a reference of who to do business with, okay? So it's both. It's not either or, it's both and, okay? So back to these radio commercials. I've already played for you a couple of them. Now that you've got a little bit more context, let me share a couple more with you. This is a company called Square Oaks. It's a small company. They compete against larger companies, and here's how we decided to do that. Let's see, play.
Rick Rachel here from Square Oaks Home Improvement. Did you know that most of the big replacement window companies in the area are owned by East Coast private equity firms? They have big quotas to make big sales at big prices so that their big bosses on the East Coast can earn big fat profits. Square Oaks is owned by me, Rick Rachel, a disabled vet living right here in the Fox Valley. We use the highest quality windows, we slow down to install them right, and we back them up with the best warranties in the business. And I don't have any East Coast bosses breathing down my neck to hit those big quotas so they can make their big profits. We sell the same or better quality windows for 20 to 50% less than they do. That's money that stays in your pocket. It's really simple.
You see how this works? We just want people to have an idea of who we are, how we're different, why we're better. This is why the first thing that we talk about today is identity. If you don't have a good identity, this stuff is not going to work. Here's what you're going to do. And I can hear all the people out there saying, hey, I've done this stuff before and it didn't work. I've done TV and it didn't work. Well, here's why. Because if you're doing TV and you're using platitudes or you're just using price-based offers, it's not going to build up over time. The farming is not, the crops are not going to develop, and you're going to give up before you get to a place where you've got, bushels full of wheat. Let's do another one here. This is Sugarman's Bath, the same one we just looked at from a SEO standpoint. Let's hear what they have to say. Installation matters.
Do you think it matters if the guy who's in there installing your bathroom cares about his job? This is Rick at Sugarman's Bath. I'm here to tell you it matters a lot. Most bathroom remodeling companies hire the cheapest subcontractors they can find, give them very little training, offer no benefits, and then fire them the second they don't have enough work to keep them busy. They can barely pay their bills. They hate their jobs. And that's the guy in there working on your bathroom. At Sugarman's Bath, our installers are the lifeblood of our company. They are actual W-2 employees who we pay well and give benefits. We keep them busy all year long, and they love their jobs. It costs a bit more to treat people right, but just wait until you see your gorgeous new bathroom, built with love by employees who love their jobs. For a free, no pressure, to-the-penny quote for your 1 to 2 day bathroom transformation, call 619-914-BATH or visit us at sugarmansbath.com. That's sugarmansbath.com.
Our goal is to make you happy.
Rich Sugarman wrote that jingle himself. I love it. It so captures the essence of their company, but the message is very powerful. I'm going to play you one more, and then we'll move on to some TV commercials. This is a company called RoofSmart, and he considers himself to be a roofing nerd, kind of an egghead. Take a listen to this.
Ever wondered what became of the class bully from your high school days? Well, he probably became a roofer. Jim Singletary, chief roof nerd here from RoofSmart. The roofing industry is rife with bullies, just like the ones you remember from school. Like a lunch money shakedown, roofing bullies harass, hector, and intimidate you into buying a new roof. They may not stuff you in a locker, but they will twist your arm, exaggerate your issues, and threaten you with phony buy today or else pricing games. RoofSmart is the nerdy, mild-mannered egghead you remember from school. We inspect your roof in obsessive, scientific detail, report our research to you in a thorough, straightforward way, then provide a fair price for the right solution. No pricing games, no bullying, no lunch money shakedown. For your free estimate from Genuine Roof.
Okay, so you get an idea how that works. Let's go on. Let me show you these. These are some TV commercials. I don't know how good the lag time is on these, but let's take a look. They're 30 seconds each. We'll start with this one.
When I was a kid, I was a bookworm, an outright nerd. As an adult, I've turned that nerdiness.
Oh, excuse me.
It's a siding. I know the geekiest siding science. Concepts like coefficient of thermal expansion. Yep, a nerd. I've analyzed every siding brand, and James Hardie is the best. It's weatherproof, fire resistant, and lasts 3 times longer than vinyl. I won't sell anything but Hardie. And by the way, did I mention it looks beautiful? Call now for free siding quote and get ready for winter with 10% off.
Okay, so that comes out. We kind of set the stage for this guy is the siding nerd. Then he's back.
Lots of companies say they guarantee your satisfaction, but at Solid State Construction, we've upped the ante. It's our love it or light promise. If you're not thrilled with our products or services, you don't pay your final invoice. You incinerate it, burn it, light it up. I'll even let you use my flamethrower. It's our love it or light it promise. Only at Solid State Construction. Go to solidstateconstruction.com for details and videos.
All right, one more, just to give you a feel for the difference in identity points.
Need a quote on siding, roofing, or windows? Beware of the sales gangster. Sales gangsters are the high-pressure muscle companies send you home. Their goal? Twist your arm until you say yes. Solid State Construction to the rescue. We can't stand sales gangsters. you're the worst. We have project consultants. They're friendly, respectful, and help you achieve your dream. Skip the sales gangster. Call Solid State Construction for siding, roofing, windows, and more.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and stop there. I've got a few more. I'll show you this one.
People ask me all the time, why the name Jericho? Jericho is a story of blind faith. The Israelites roamed the wilderness for 40 years. They crossed the Jordan River into Jericho and into Promise. We started Jericho in the worst recession in 50 years, but we thought there was a higher purpose. More than just kitchens and baths, Jericho is about taking care of others, customers, employees, and most importantly, orphans and abandoned children. It's about blind faith to fulfill a purpose. And that's why we named our company Jericho. Care to join us?
So here's the results that we're trying to get out of this. People call you when your ads aren't running because they just know that you're the right company. The reward center in their brain, going back to the Coca-Cola experiment, it'll be activated when they're ready to buy. Competition shrinks to a few key players. Your organic search rankings are going to go up because people are going to be searching for you online because they're going to be seeing and hearing you. And that's going to cause your domain authority to go up, which is going to be helpful for your organic search. Closing ratio is going to go up. People pay more for Coke than they do for store brand, and the same thing will be true for you. Sales and profits are going to go up. Your company becomes more sellable, again, like I talked about earlier, because you have this key advantage, okay? So I'm going to end up right there. If anybody has any questions that they'd like to answer, go ahead and type them into the questions console on your console, I guess. And I'd be happy to talk to you. If you don't have any questions, you're free to hang up, and we will be sending a copy of this video a little bit later today. So thank you so much for attending, and I am happy to stick around and answer any questions. If you'd like us to do the website audit, you can go ahead and fill that out. We'd like to help you with that. Or if you need help with your media, if you'd like to get involved in this kind of branding, TV, radio, streaming, you can shoot me an email, rich@level10contractor.com. Just put media on there, and we'll set up a time to talk. Thanks so much. And we will now take any questions. Let me see how we're looking on questions. Do not see any questions. Okay. No questions so far. I'm going to end the webinar unless I hear questions in the next 5 seconds. All righty, that is 5 seconds. All right, thanks y'all. We'll talk to you next time.